Israel's top ministers are meeting this hour to determine how they will retaliate against Iran's attack this weekend. Western allies have urged the war cabinet to consider that although more than 300 missiles were fired, the damage and injuries were minimal because of Israel's successful defense. The attack came from Iran, and it came in the wake of Israeli strikes last month, which destroyed Iran's consulate in Damascus, Syria, killing 7 Iranian officials. For a closer look at what an escalation could entail, we're joined by CTV military expert, retired Major General David Fraser. Good to have you here.
Anne-Marie, good to be with you.
So then how does Israel show what one UK official described as a smart but controlled response? Israel on the weekend saying they wanted to show both offensive and defensive action.
Absolutely. I mean, this was a very measured, controlled response to the attack in Syria by Israel. Iran has demonstrated that they gave all the indications, they gave warning, they gave a lot of time for the Israeli defenses to exercise their capability. But it was also a measure by Iran to determine how good the Israeli air defense systems were against such a large number of multiplicity of weapon systems. So they were learning something from this too. But, Iran has then announced in the UN that they consider the situation closed. Weird calculus, but now the ball is firmly in the court of Israel. Do they escalate or do they let this go for the time being?
What do Iran's military resources then look like?
Well, Iran's got a very good strike capability, but we haven't seen what they're able to do to defend themselves against something, a like type of an attack. And let's understand, they haven't been attacked like this, like Israel has over the decades. And so, if there was a similar attack back on Iran, I think it would be a lot more effective than what they were trying to do against Israel. Their air defense systems and fighters are old. They're not that good, and I think it would be a lot more damaging, but we'll have to wait and see if that ever does materialize.
There were a lot of phone calls internationally that happened over the weekend after this attack. We know that Joe Biden was on the phone with Israel for at least half an hour. Israel's ambassador to Canada, in fact, called on Ottawa yesterday to classify the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps as a terrorist organization. So what has Canada's response been like so far?
Well, Canada has actually chimed in with much of the rest of the world, and so demonstrating our support for the international coalition and, quite frankly, for Israel by condemning these attacks by Iran and condemning, quite frankly, what Iran has been doing for decades. The Republican Guard is a terrorist organization, and we continue to show our support internationally and diplomatically to make sure that Iran doesn't expand any more than it has in the region with their terrorist activities in support of terrorist groups.
You mentioned that Iran has said they consider this case closed, as a matter of as a way to say it, because they sent over 300 missiles. They're allowed to say, look, we have responded in force. Israel was able to defend it. Where does it go from here?
Well, I think what Iran's looking for is that it doesn't go any further. Now, that doesn't mean anything ends. I mean, Iran and Israel are enemies of each other. This fight will carry on, and it will be manifestly found in Gaza, and to a lesser degree, well, not to a lesser degree, but what the Houthis are doing. So this war carries on, but it's not going to be an escalation where it is about Iran and Israel fighting each other directly. It'll be through intermediaries and organizations like what we just talked about. So it goes back, unfortunately, back to the way it was before the attack in Syria, which is we're going to be talking about Gaza and what's happening with Hezbollah and what's happening with the Houthis.
General Fraser, thank you.
Anne-Marie, thank you.
Hey, thanks for watching. If you liked this, be sure to subscribe here, or you can check out more Your Morning videos right here.